Hi everyone, my name is Kirsten and thanks for joining me for yoga today. Today's practice is going to focus on stretching that is really good for a post-cardio workout stretch. So these are going to focus on stretches that you can do and yoga poses you can do after you've elevated your heart rate and maybe you're not quite ready to get down to the floor or to go into an inversion yet. It would be really good for, especially if you're doing a cardio that's really leg heavy. So if you were running or walking or biking, rollerblading, it's going to target some stretches in those hip muscles and leg muscles especially. So starting off on your mat or wherever you're at, find your feet, roll back. Just kind of see where you're at with your legs, feel where your muscles are. Working through those shoulders a little bit, kind of whatever you need to do, finding some range. Sometimes if you've been running or doing your cardio, you might have some tension in your shoulders, so you can just do what you need to do to start kind of working out that mobility in your shoulders. And really just kind of taking a minute to take stock and take note of where your muscles and joints are at, starting to activate a little bit. Inhale up. Exhale, lock those fingers together. You can flip the palms over if you like. Lift up super tall through your heart. Little back bend, your eyes can look up. Stretch down the whole front body. And exhaling over to one side. Inhaling up center. Firmly rooting down through your feet. Exhale to the other side. And bring your feet together. Release those arms down. Take another breath up. Locking your fingers again. Push the palms up to the ceiling. Push the pinkies backward as much as your shoulders will allow. And then inhale over to one side. Push through your feet. Exhale, center. Inhale, other side. Slide your hip one way. Slide your hands the other way. And then exhale, center. Release your hands all the way down. So from the top of your mat, just taking your right foot, stepping back, finding a warrior stance, inhaling up, warrior one. Hips and shoulders are square, turning that right hip and that right shoulder forward, lifting up through the heart. Breathing all the way down, letting that breath be deep and expanding into the low belly, into the right hip. Inhale, lift that back heel, turn the hips and shoulders even more square to the front of your mat. And exhale, just lowering down, letting those hips melt into your lunge, high lunge. You can adjust your foot placement anytime. You can go longer with that stance. You can shorten it up. So whatever is going to let this hip open up and feel like it's in a good place. Inhale, lifting way up, lift through that heart. If you want to, you can interlock the fingers. Lots of big breath into the belly, sinking into those legs. And then from right here, pressing back and through, planting your back foot. So you're ready for a pyramid stance. Turn the heart forward, pull the kneecaps up, stick your feet down to the mat, and with a very tall spine, stretch through the heart. Spin that right side forward. Take your left hip, push it back. And we're not worried about rounding forward to try and touch our nose down in any way. You just want to keep your spine as tall as you can through the crown of the head. Focus on turning and keeping the hips square. If you can keep your spine pretty flat in pyramid and you want to, you can take your hands down the blocks or you can take them to the mat. If this is your post-cardio stretch and your heart rate is still high, use your judgment as far as bringing your heart down lower than you normally have it. You don't want to feel lightheaded as you stretch. Lots of good hamstring here. Softening through that knee. Inhale back up into warrior one. And exhale, finding that tall lunge again. So finding your long extension through that back foot. See how deep you can take that lunge. Maybe you can bend through that front knee a little bit more. Really big open hip. Lift up tall through your heart. And then as you exhale, bring that back knee all the way down to your mat. Flatten through your back toes, low lunge. glide your weight forward. So you're just tucking the tail, sending your weight forward. Lift the heart up. Find a low crescent. Lift up through your heart. Reach back through your thumbs. Send that whole front body forward. Reach the thumbs back. Reach the big toe back. Exhale all the way down to the mat, planting the right hand. Left hand spins open. So as you rotate in this lunge, you might feel like that front knee wants to roll to the blade side of the foot. So for now, keep that foot planted. Keep the big toe pressing. Reach long through the top of the head. Big twist. Stack that left shoulder on top of the right. And then closing that back up. So if you have room for it and you'd like to, you can take your hand and now we can just roll and kind of gently move that left thigh bone right to left, open through that hip socket. You can allow your foot to roll to the blade side of the foot a little bit more. Working on that hip mobility. Right hip is still opening. We're just working through that left hip a little bit. Planting both hands, tuck your back toes under. Inhaling all the way back up. Exhale, find your warrior two. Turning the hips and shoulders to square up to the long edge of the mat. Really strong, widen through that knee, pressing it toward the pinky toe side of your foot. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, turn your toes to point in the same direction. And you can have a natural turnout with your feet, whatever feels comfortable. Draw yourself up tall, draw your muscles inward. Inhale, up. Exhale, straight legs, straight spine, hinge, tabletop spine. Push those hips way, way back as you pull the kneecaps up, really getting those hamstrings. So your hands can airplane or they can stay at the hips. Reach back through the hips. Belly button pulls in. We're supporting the spine. Reach forward through the crown of the head. Big hamstring stretch here. Take one more breath. Exhale, hinging forward either to a block or to the floor. Relaxing the head and the neck. Breathe into the backs of the legs. So you want to make sure that you feel like you're keeping your feet active. You're drawing the muscles upward, working on those hamstrings. You can take it wider if you need to. If you have room to walk your hands backward a little bit in between the feet, you can, and bend those elbows. Lots of hamstring here. If you want to turn your hands around and walk them backwards, you can walk them back. Keeping your feet firm. Walking it back up here. Take this and walk it on over to the right side. And you can either have your left hand on the mat, or if you want, you can grab the outside of the right ankle or right shin. Breathe as you draw your heart and turn those shoulders, looking over in this direction, over that right shoulder. If you want to, you can take that right hand and open, bigger rotation in the shoulders. Still reaching back through the hips, lengthening through the tailbone. Close that back up. Walk it center. And then to the other side, keeping your feet firm, keeping those muscles active. Either walking your hands toward your left foot. You can take your left hand to your left foot, or you can take your right hand to the outside of that shin or ankle. Rotate, turning the heart to open. You can have your hand to your hip, your low back, or if you'd like, you can extend. Reach back through the sits bones. Envision your vertebrae extending long to the wall behind you. Inhale, each breath a little taller. Legs are still active. Eyes are looking over that shoulder. And then just walking that back. A little bit narrower if you need to. Soften the knees. Hands come to the hips. Big inhale up. And then exhaling, turning so that you can find your warrior stance on this side. Warrior two, other side of the body. Looking down the long middle of that arm. Taking a moment to let that breath regulate. Open through that right knee this time. Pushing strong through that back leg, anchoring. And then breathe into your warrior one. So as you turn to warrior one, you may feel like you have to adjust your foot placement. You might have to shorten up that stance, and that's okay. Lifting nice and tall. Shoulders roll back and open. And bring those hands together, heart center. And just roll out through those wrists. Other side, rolling them out. Releasing that inhale, lifting up onto the ball of the foot. Exhale, finding your lunge on this side of the body. So tall lunge, lifting up really, really tall. Pushing back through that heel. And just finding the depth that you need to be at. If you would like, you can add that lift. Breathing into your left hip this time. Seeing where the depth of that lunge is. You can bend that front knee a little more if you want. Woo. Eyes looking up gives you a balance challenge, so that's there if you'd like it. Lots of good breath into the low belly, into that left hip. And then bringing that back up, extending through your front leg, turning your hips to square up to the front of the mat. And then for your pyramid, diving the heart nice and tall over the knee, reaching through the crown of the head. Spinning that left hip forward, taking that right hip and spinning it back toward the back corner of your mat, drawing those inner thighs toward each other, keeping the legs active. Your arms can be here, they can come down to blocks if you have room for it. Breathing into that hamstring. Constantly renewing the squaring of the hips, giving your muscles time to stretch. And then softening through that knee, inhaling back up, warrior one. Lifting up through your heart. Exhale, finding that tall lunge again. Ball of the foot, squaring everything up, finding the depth of your lunge. Lifting those arms into that crescent lunge if you would like to. And as you exhale, lowering your back knee all the way down to your mat, flattening through your toes, lifting up through your heart, sinking into your front leg. Inhale to lift up. Tail tucks under, we're reaching the thumbs back, glide your weight into your right foot, that forward foot. Send your breath all the way down into the low belly and that left hip. One more breath here. And then bringing it down to your mat. Left hand plants, right hand twists open. Big rotation. Keeping your right foot firmly planted. Even pressure through all parts of that foot as you try and stack the right shoulder on top of the left. Breathe, breathe, breathe. Still staying tall. Finding that twist. Getting distance between the ears and shoulders. And then tucking that back toe. Bringing it all the way back up. Finding your warrior two. Turning your toes to point in the same direction. And letting your feet go to your open stance. Inhaling up. Exhale, sinking into a goddess squat. And you could just take some time to kind of place your feet. You want to try and get the knees fairly lined up over the ankles. And you can either stay right here nice and low, letting these hips open and the knees push wide. Or if you'd like to, you can just take it low and sink into those hips a little bit. Use your forearms on the inner parts of the thigh bones to help press that open. Add a little shift, right to left. Just hanging out down here in your deep squat. Spine is still fairly straight. And releasing out of that, walking your feet together. Softening through the knees, rolling all the way up. Shoulders roll back and open. Finding your balance on your right foot. And you want to make sure as you're finding that balance, especially if you've been doing your cardio and your muscles are maybe feeling a little bit of fatigue, you want to make sure that you're drawing yourself up to support your spine and support your back. So lifting up tall, shoulders over hips, finding your balance on your right side. You can touch on a wall or a chair if you like. Right arm can be a mountain, left foot finds the left hand. And if you'd like, you can take that right arm up. Tail tucks under, we're sending the hips forward, lift up through the heart. You can stay right here if you'd like to go further in your dancer, gazing somewhere on the floor in front of you, pressing the foot into the hand, hinging forward any amount. Breathing into that hip, opening up through your quad. And then coming out of that, releasing and hugging that knee in. Rolling out through your foot if you need to. And then just releasing this across your standing foot, left over right. Inhale up. And then forward fold, dive down, squeezing those legs, just letting that crossed midline, that as you cross the foot over the midline, just emphasizing that hip stretch. Breathe yourself taller in your spine, reach up through the sits bones. Squeeze those legs together a little bit, locking them in. You need to shake out your head. And then rolling back up, drawing that left knee with you. And then just bringing it back down. Taking that right leg back this time. Oh, we had our right leg back before. We need to balance on the other side. So standing on our left leg, that's where we're at. You can tell I've been doing my cardio. My brain isn't all here yet. It's still back outside. We're going to take this and find our quad stretch on the other side in Dancer. So finding a spot for your gaze, engaging through that core so that we're staying squared up, hips and shoulders. Knees stay close together. That left hand can stay down in mountain or extended overhead. And taking the time to just kind of find yourself in Dancer. Lift yourself up very tall in the front body. Extend the tailbone forward. And as you feel ready, if you want to take it further, hinging any amount, pressing the foot into the hand into the foot, lifting through your heart. Lots of good breath. And then slowly releasing that out, giving that knee a little squeeze. You can roll through your ankle if you like. And we're going to take this right foot and cross it over the left. Right over left, inhaling up. Exhale and dive down, long spine. Into that forward fold. Squeezing those legs, keeping them active, reaching up through the sits bones. Breathing into that pose, breathing into the backs of the legs, into whatever parts of it you feel are the tightest. Inhaling all the way back up, rolling up through the spine, belly pulls in, right knee comes with you. And then bringing it back down. So from here, taking that left leg back, finding your lunge again, bringing it all the way down into your high lunge. You can walk that right foot out a little bit wide, and we didn't get a chance to cradle that on the other side before, so we're going to do it now. If you would like to, you can rock that hip joint a little bit, open and close through that hip socket. Nice and easy, nothing that feels painful. You always want to be kind to yourself with your practice, remembering to do no harm with what your pose is doing or what your breath is doing, what your thoughts are doing. Just finding some range here. And let's take this into a downward dog if you're feeling ready for it. Pedaling out those heels, let's let those calves lengthen. If they're feeling a little tight from your cardio work. Arms are extended, fingers are spread out nice and big. Just pedaling that out, feeling where the backs of the legs are, reaching up through the tailbone. Letting those heels settle. Inhale that right leg way, way, way up. Stretch as tall as you can. And exhale, drawing that through into a pigeon pose. So drawing your knee forward, your foot's off toward your left hip, and your back leg, your left leg is extended straight behind you. Lifting really tall in your spine, trying to level out those hips. You want to make sure you're not rolling off onto the right side, but just keeping the hips square, letting your weight be even, dropping straight down the middle. You can stay right here. If you would like to take it further, you can extend to the forearms. If you'd like to go even further and surrender into that pigeon pose, you can extend longer with the arms. You can almost fold the arms to hold the forehead. Breathe into that right hip, that abductor. Relax the muscles in the face. As you exhale, let your body melt down. Take about 3 more breaths. Giving yourself time with your pose. Giving your muscles time to relax into your pose. And then releasing out of that, pressing yourself back up. You can stay right here if you like. You can still stay surrendered forward. If you want to add on to this, making sure your back knee is comfortable, you can bend that back leg. And if you have room for it, you can take your left hand to your left foot. Turning the heart forward, lifting up through the spine. That right hand, I have mine on the mat for stability. If you want to, if you have stability, you can bring it up. I don't really have that solid of a pigeon right now, so I'm going to keep that right hand down. Let's see how it feels if you want to draw, bending that elbow, drawing that foot inward. Really mindful of your knee, not pushing yourself any further than you need to go. And then other way, we're going to press the foot into the hand, open that left shoulder. Reach the center of the ribcage forward as you push the foot into the hand. Breathe and expand through that left shoulder. And then slowly releasing that down. Plant your palms, tuck your back toes, step into your downward dog. Pedal out those heels a little bit and really strong through the arms. Renew that posture in your pose. Feeling where you're at. Stretching through the spine, left leg inhales. Let's see, no, right leg. Right leg inhales like up. Is that right? That's not right, we just did that. Come on back. Left leg inhales like up. And then exhales and comes through for your pigeon. There we go. So now that we're on the other side, whatever side you didn't do before, turning the hips and shoulders, take a minute, get yourself settled in your pigeon. So that right leg should be going straight behind you. Your left foot is off toward your right hip. And we're just squaring up to the front of the mat, lifting that posture up tall. If you need like a blanket or a block to tuck under that left hip, because the left hip may have some space between your body and the floor, and that's normal, that's fine. You can either let that space be there or you can prop it up with a block. You can stay right here. And if you want to take this a little bit deeper, you can go to the forearms. And if you'd like to take it deeper still, you can extend out all the way. Breathing into your pose as you move, being really mindful of your muscles and joints. You can cross those forearms and hold the forehead. Couple breaths here. Give your body time with your pose. Still breathing tall through the spine, letting that heart melt down, reaching through the top of the head, reaching back through your back big toe, breathing into the low belly, into the left abductors, outer thigh, outer leg. Take one more slow, even breath. And then walking that back up. Sitting nice and tall, you can either stay right here, or if you'd like to take it a little further, if there's room for it, you can bend that back knee. You can stay right here. You can take your right hand back to your right foot and find that grip, whatever grip is going to work for you. So you can grip from the big toe side of the foot, the blade side of the foot, over the top, whatever is going to work best. So from here, mindful of that right hip and that right shoulder, spine is still lifting tall, lifting up through the heart. Option for that front hand. If it's there for you, go for it. Breathe, breathe, breathe. Lift tall. Feel where you're at with your joints, with your pose. And then taking, if there's room to invite some movement and change the shape of that pose by drawing that foot toward your glutes, toward your hip, you can pull that foot inward a little bit. And again, mindful of that knee, not taking your pose anywhere that feels painful or unsafe, but just keeping it to a good stretch, finding the edges of that pose. And then reversing the direction of that, so you're pushing your foot into your hand, and opening through that right shoulder, turning the rib cage forward. So reaching forward through the center of the chest. At the same time, pushing the foot into the hand. Breathing into that right shoulder. Let that breath expand the muscles and bones. One more breath here. And then release. Planting the palms, tuck the back toes under, step into your downward facing dog, pedal that out, let your heels even out, let your calves even out, just equalize those legs. Extend those arms long, feel some energy from the palms of the hands all the way to the arms. And eyes looking forward, walking your feet up to a forward fold. Relaxing through the head and the neck and the shoulders, rolling yourself up. Shoulders roll back and open. Just going to focus a little bit more on our hamstrings on the mat, and then we're going to be all done with our post-cardio stretch. So not a full hour today, but just something to round off a cardio practice. So finding your feet, still staying active in those legs, feeling like your muscles are a little bit more cooled down maybe by now, feeling like those muscles are starting to get a little more stretched out so they're not going to be tighter as they cool off. Inhaling to lift up. So tall. Exhale, dive down long through your limbs. Drop the chin. Inhale halfway. And exhale into a plank. Take a breath here. Move through a chaturanga just to see where those muscles are. Inhaling up into your cobra or your upward dog if you want an upward dog. Exhale into a downward dog. And then right to a tabletop. Bending those knees. Sit back to child's pose for just a second. Crawl your fingertips forward as long as you can reach. And take a big breath all the way down your spine. Expand into the side rib cage. And exhale out. And bringing this up to a tabletop spine. Taking that left or that right leg, extending back. And keeping your hips as level as you can. So try not to let them open, but keeping them really equal. And taking a breath here, a little chaturanga, dipping the heart toward the mat, reach up through your heel, inhale, and exhale. 2 more times. Inhale, reach and extend up through the heel. Exhale, push, shoulders away from the ears. 1 more time, elbows in tight. And then exhale, cross that knee behind the other one and sit it back in your child's pose. Kind of a cross between child's pose and cow's face. So you can allow your feet to drift a little wider. Play around with your pose, with your posture, and let that help through the hips. Big stretch through those outer hips. Using these arms to extend long, sit the hips way back. If they're floating and there's space between your hips and the mat, that's totally normal and fine. It's all up to you how far back you sit. 1 more breath all the way down the spine, into the low back, expanding across the kidneys. And then bringing it back up to your tabletop, releasing that out to your squared up posture, sitting back, child's pose with your knees uncrossed. Take a breath. And then exhale, melt down through that heart, bringing it up to your tabletop, extend your left leg this time. So really making sure your hips are staying square, not opening up to the left, but square to the floor. And then from here, you can either hold it, or if you'd like to take that chaturanga, inhaling, dipping the heart toward the mat in front of you. Exhale, come back center. And again, just keeping that leg as extended as you can. 2 more times. Inhale, exhale, reach through that big toe. Last time. And as you come up, bringing that over the top of your right leg. So crossing left behind right and sitting it back. Letting your feet drift wider as they need to. Find that stretch on the other side of the body. Give yourself some time with it as you reach back through the hips, using those arms for a long push, either through some fingertips, or you can keep your palms flat. So whatever is going to feel like a better stretch. Taking 2 more breaths here. Exhale. exhale yourself forward, uncrossing that back leg, bringing it back to your tabletop, and sitting back into your child's pose. Long extension forward. Taking your right hand and just crossing it over your left hand. Turn your heart to the side. Look under your right arm. Take a breath. And bring it back center. Take your left hand over your right. Turn your heart to the other side. Look under that left arm. We're still long and extended. And then take a deep breath here. Feel that expansion in the side of the ribs. And then back to center. Let the arms get very loose. Pull in through the navel. Draw yourself up. Rolling that spine all the way up to sit. And roll your shoulders back and open. Have a seat. And extending it long. So taking care not to let the toes roll in. So we don't want the femurs rolling inward in the hip sockets. We want them to be rolling outward in the hip sockets and letting those toes point straight up. So sitting as tall as you can. You can also sit on a block. This might be enough of a stretch for you. You're squeezing those legs up. And if you'd like a bigger stretch, you can walk those hands forward, trying to keep your spine as straight as you can. Crawling the hands forward, reaching through the top of the head, rolling the toes upward. And then bringing that up, taking it over to one side, turn the heart, lift up tall, and extend long as you can. You might be able to reach with one or with both hands. Not forgetting about this is my right foot, so not forgetting about the left toes. We don't want to let them roll in, but keeping that leg active as you draw yourself into that big hamstring straddle. Releasing it out, turning the heart to the other side, and then extending long through your spine, keeping your legs active. With one hand, both hands on your leg. Just getting a big hamstring stretch, keeping that wide stance. Heart toward the knee, squaring toward the knee, reaching over that foot. And then releasing that out, bringing that center wiggling. And we'll do one last stretch, finding a seat, crossing your right over your left. Let your knee go nice and wide, so just letting it fall open as much as you can, flexing through that foot to protect the knee, and keeping that knee and ankle in alignment. Push strong through your left foot, and your hands can point in whatever direction is more comfortable for you. So from here, pushing through your grounded foot, lifting up, finding that tabletop in a figure four. So big right hip stretch. Breathe, and then bring that back down. Do that 2 more times. Push up through that grounded foot. Your neck and your spine are just natural extensions of each other. Nice and tall, last one. And then controlling that down, release that out, wiggle it out if you need to. Taking your left foot over your right knee this time, flex through that foot, the ankle, let your knee press wide as you can, trying to keep that ankle and knee in alignment, and then get your hands exactly where you need them to be. Firm up through your grounded foot, exhale to lift, moving mindfully, paying attention to the shoulders, the knee, the hip, anything, feeling like there's not stress on your joints, just a good stretch. And controlling that back down, inhale, exhale to lift, 2 more times, inhale at the top, exhale coming back down, lots of good control last time. And then bringing it back down, uncross. Come on up, have a seat. You can roll out those wrists if you need to. So if there's any other muscle or joint that you need to work on or loosen up more, if there's a pose you need to go back and spend more time in, go for it. But hopefully this is going to be useful for you in your post-cardio time where you just need to stretch it out a little bit so that you're not sore later. Thanks for joining me today for yoga. I'll see you guys next time.